talk about pedagogy of the oppressed, which is, to be honest, is kind of ironic because I do teach pedagogy of the oppressed, and I teach pedagogy of the oppressed not only at the university, but also at the high school in the Social Justice Education Project, which is part of the Mexican American Studies program, which has been banned. Sorry. So, and when I do teach pedagogy of the oppressed, I usually have people get up, move around, walk around in circles, but I don't think it's possible here. Because you know, the book is about, how many of you read the book? Okay, well, forget about it. Well, okay, well, maybe I should have you talk to me about it. Okay, well, okay, that's great. That's wonderful that so many of you read the book. The book was published in the early 1970s, and the work was done around the book, research, writing of the book around the 60s. And I'm only talking for a very short amount of time, and those of you who read the book know this is a very complicated, very deep, very dense book. So I'm going to only touch upon the highlights, the hit points. So the book was written at a time of decolonization, right? Former colonies in Latin America, Asia, and Africa were becoming autonomous states. So decolonization is an important subject of the book, not so much as a matter of nation-state formation, but as a matter of individual and collective human development. So the discussion of decolonization is actually a discussion of internalized colonization. It's a process, we have to undergo a process of decolonization of the self. Internalized colonization is simply after the colonizing troops have left, after the military forces have left, the institutions still remain. The colonizing discourses still remain. And in fact, you know, I think one of the reasons why we're here is because there is a colonial discourse still around right now telling us which culture is better than other cultures, which language is better than other languages. So these colonial discourses still remain, and they become internalized. They become internalized. We start to take them in, and we become colonial subjects. We become colonial subjects by believing less than ourselves. We believe that we are inferior. We're not capable of change. We're not capable of contributing to our society, making things better. We start to believe this. So the book is about healing. The book is about healing the self. So an important question of the book is, how does a pedagogy of the oppressed help us to counter internalized oppression? Now, those that understand and read and interpret and gain from Paulo Freire and Pedagogy of the Oppressed say that what he's offering is a critical pedagogy. Now, he doesn't use this term. He uses critical literacy, but we interpret his work and say what he's offering is a critical pedagogy. And what that is a way of learning that helps to liberate people from oppression. So there are two propositions of critical pedagogy. Two propositions that you must accept. The first one is oppression exists. You're laughing, right? So Tom Horn, oppression exists. You must accept that, or else you're not doing a critical pedagogy. You're doing oppressive pedagogy. So oppression exists. There are subjugating discourses, as I said. There are economic and social forces that keep people down. The second proposition is that the transformation of the oppressed is possible, that the oppressed can liberate themselves from oppression. Now, this relates to two goals of critical pedagogy. The first one is to locate the causes of oppression. What are those social economic factors that are keeping people down? And the second goal is transformation of reality. Transformation of reality at the subjective level, at the individual level, and also objective. These things all go on simultaneously. Objective meaning the oppressive conditions that exist out there. The first goal, let's talk about the first goal of critical pedagogy, focus on oppression. Why must we focus on oppression? Well, oppression is dehumanizing. Freire says to be fully human is to have full control over what we do, how we think, what we want to become. It's a matter of self-determination. If we don't attain self-determination, we become alienated. No control over our thoughts, creativity, production, thus we become alienated from our own life. This is the Marxism Sorry. Throwing it in there. Right, alienation.
Watch it, they'll run you out of
I know, they're going to run me out. Run me out of the state with my commie clothes, whatever, commie pedagogy of the oppressed. But anyway, that's the Marxism right there. Control, you have to have control of your creativity, your thoughts, your production, or else if you don't have control over it, you're alienated from your own life. Freire was concerned about oppression in general. But for the pedagogy of the oppressed, he was concerned about oppression in education. He said there's a specific kind of education that's oppressive, and he calls it banking education. And banking education is basically what I'm doing right now. So I'm oppressing you right now. So just lecturing, the traditional lecture style, throwing stuff out there, and the students sit there passively and accept this passively without interaction, without questioning, without any engagement in the knowledge, or the production of knowledge. So this becomes a deposit of information in a one-way approach. This makes students passive, makes them uncritical, and it's extremely undemocratic way of learning. Now this is the irony. The irony is we have these wonderful countries like the United States that prides itself on democracy, but the standard way that people learn is undemocratic. Democracy, what is democracy about? Democracy is about voice. It's about expressing interest. It's about dissent, and it's about dissent of dominant ideas and dominant beliefs. And banking education does not do that, does not teach us about voice, expressing interest, or dissent. The second goal of critical pedagogy is the transformation of reality. How do we transform reality? Through critical reflection and action, which Freire calls praxis. Praxis is a dialectical process. This is in lieu of the PowerPoint. You have to watch my hands, okay? So you reflect over here, right? You're reflecting, and you reflect on a situation over here, out there, and then you take action in the situation over here, right? And then you bring change to that situation, and then your experience of bringing change and action informs your thinking. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. That's praxis, okay? Now, praxis in education is what Freire calls problem posing. Now, this is a form of learning through questioning, where instructor would question, students would question, everybody would be questioning, asking questions. But this is a particular kind of question. This is a question directed at the problems that students have in their social context. This is what problem posing is. This is any kind of question. It's a question about problems that students are having in their social context. So let me give you an example of problem posing education that I've engaged in. I was leading a reading group at San Quentin Prison in California. And the men in this reading group were all African-American men. And one of the books we were reading a book about South Africa. And so to facilitate their learning, I posed the question, why are there so many African-American men incarcerated? That was the question I posed to them. And then they went into this incredible dialogue about racism, about police harassment, right, about criminalization. But ultimately, they came up with the idea that education, lack of education, is one reason why there are so many African-American men in prison. So they took action and they organized at San Quentin, and they got themselves a program of courses that would lead to an associate's degree. So that's praxis right there. That's critical reflection and an action. So I'm going to end right here with a quote from Pedagogy of the Oppressed. It says, Freire says, "For apart from inquiry, apart from the praxis, individuals cannot be truly human. Knowledge emerges only through invention and reinvention, through the restless, impatient, continuing, hopeful inquiry human beings pursue in the world, with each other." Thank you very much.